Hello everyone, this is Hispa. Welcome to my channel. Today I am going to talk on this series of podcasts about a very different topic than in previous ones. The last weekend it was celebrated in Madrid City the 5th edition of InterOcio International Board Game Fair, and like in several previous editions I also visited the event. So this time I thought it could be a good idea to make this short podcast to just giving some tribute to this matter and sharing with you my thoughts about it. For those who don't know what is InterOcio about, it is basically the most important board game fair annually celebrated in Spain at IFEMA facilities, a fairground very well connected to the city. I visited the con on Saturday noon since I was afraid about the long queues of people and cars seen other years at early hours in the entrance. But despite some unexpected road diversion I had to face in the parking lots due to the works being done there for the coming Formula One Spanish Grand Prix, which is going to be celebrated this year in this very area, I could finally find the not too busy parking lot and park my car without any problem. And I was right. At the time I arrived to the entrance, fortunately there was not any queue to go in. Okay, so once inside the pavilion, my first impression was rather good. I saw many people in the event, but the crowd was not something uncomfortable. Everything looked to be well distributed, even also realizing that the con was having a high attendance like in previous years. Yeah, well, Madrid is placed in the middle of the Iberian Peninsula, so it is close enough by car or high-speed train to mostly every corner of Spain except the overseas territories, which makes visiting the event rather affordable for mostly everyone in the country interested. The first edition was celebrated in year 2022, and the con has been growing year by year since then. I remember the first editions barely occupied half of the assigned pavilion. However, on this edition I would say it was 100% occupied. As far as I know, InterOcio is not considered a big event by other countries, of course, but Spain has a long tradition with board games since many centuries ago, and the national industry is growing more and more each year. So this kind of fair was something desired by Spanish gamers since much before the first edition was celebrated. There are other similar events in Spain every year, like the Freak Wars, the DAO, the Japan Weekend, the Ludo Ergo Sum, and many others. But I think no one of those specifically focused in board games has the big size as InterOcio, so as a lover of this hobby, I really appreciate having a con like InterOcio in my country, even not being a super fan of this kind of events. I like board games and many things around them, so of course I like visiting InterOcio, but to be honest, it is not the best place for me to enjoy gaming. So why visit it then? Well, because I like to be informed and see the material physically, the new releases of board games, the new existing material, and I like the atmosphere of these events. It is a kind of game proud fest, where everyone there shares the same hobby, which is something absolutely great. In InterOcio, you have the opportunity to see the latest trends in the industry directly from many of their actors and what is going on, and I like that. But of course, none of those reasons are as good as the best one for me, which is that you are able to meet new people from the hobby or meet other older friends. Like, for example, Sergio Herrera, known as Serukun, a great game designer who was promoting his latest released game in the stand of Falomir Juegos, and also someone from the HeroQuest fans community who you may have probably seen many times in La Guarida de Morcar YouTube channel. Well, this year I was not able to stay in InterOcio all the time I would like to, but even having no time for playing, I think it was enough to have an idea about the con. As said, one of the good things that I realized was the great atmosphere from previous editions was still there. Many people, especially families and groups of friends, were playing and enjoying the day, and everything looked rather well organized. And I think there was enough room and playing tables for everyone, which was great. About the sponsors and exhibitors, I don't have the data available, but I think their number was similar to previous editions, or at least that was what I felt staying there. But despite the usual large grandstand areas occupied by companies of the industry, which of course was the majority of the space, This year, I really liked two sections of the con. First of all, I really enjoyed a small exhibition about the history of board games, where there were some samples of games from different eras with good written explanations. The one I've most liked was the Senate game piece. I liked this section because I see frequent debates on internet about if board games may be considered culture or not. Well, for me, of course, they are. The human race is enjoying board games since long ago, like humans read books or listen to music. No idea why such a stupid debate exists. And the other section of the fair I really liked was, like in previous editions, the one where artists show their creations and promote their service. Yes, in the AI generative era, there are invaluable professionals who still try to survive on this industry by making their awesome handmade illustrations. When I visited this section year by year, I always try to get some contact details from those artists who I really like. Who knows if I might need them in a future project. This year, I even think there were more stands dedicated to artists. We will see how things evolve on this matter. On the other hand, I just missed being able to check in detail the prototypes section, which is always a great place of the con, where you can discover and play prototypes with their own authors. But this year, I had not time enough, unfortunately. About the company's stance, well, I will not give you any overview on this video since there are tons of videos on internet which are already doing it much better than me. And honestly, I did not explore each corner of the pavilion to show you all the details, but I would like to just comment you a small thing I observed, which was the high amount of markers for miniature painting which were being sold in the fair. The last year I was testing some of the markers being sold by AK Company and they were just selling a couple of different sets. But this year the variety of products on this matter was huge. I liked the experience from previous year and I was really tempted to buy a starter set, but well, I still like painting in the traditional way and I prefer to check before more detailed information on internet to know which kind of markers set could fit better with my needs. So I didn't buy it at the end. Nevertheless, the use of markers to paint miniatures is something I see really useful, especially for occasional painters. If you are not so skilled in painting miniatures nor have enough time for it, but you want to have your miniatures painted, I really recommend you at least testing them and see how this technique works. Well, then I can say my experience this year in InterOcio was overall good, considering the time I could dedicate to the event, but of course nothing is perfect and there are a couple of points of the con that I didn't like. First of all, I think this year there were too many stands trying to sell all stock right there, instead of making good marketing of their new products, no matter if they are sold later. There were people waiting for hours to buy all games with unbeatable offers, but it meant they were spending most of their time in the event to just buy something. That was their free decision, of course, but the entrance to the fair costed €16 and they were missing the opportunity to enjoy the event itself. So, well, in my opinion, I think such kind of decision does not worth at all. Anyway, of course, that was not the worst part I think the event has. The thing I don't really like about InterOcio is a problem seen in mostly all previous editions, and it is that there are key companies of the industry, some very big whales, which are not unfortunately present on the con. I am talking about companies like Hasbro, Fantasy Flight Games, Games Workshop, or The Beard, but there are many others. I can understand that companies like Fantasy Flight Games or Games Workshop would not like to dedicate resources to have a stand in this second division fair, since of course InterOcio is not Essence SPL nor Indies Gen Con, and it is slightly more focused on family games than hobby games. And I even could understand that Hasbro is not present in InterOcio anymore since they have made several headcount cuts through the last years and their board game developments have been really affected or redirected for many reasons. But what most of the Spanish gamers, and myself including, cannot understand in any case is why the beer is not present in InterOcio with their own stand. De Beer is probably the most important Spanish company in the board games industry, and they were only present in the first edition of InterOcio, but for some reason, which I am not informed enough to speculate now, De Beer has not had a stand in any other edition celebrated since then. I have several games licensed by De Beer in my collection, mainstream titles like Catan or War of the Ring, just to mention two. So I really hope to see De Beer again on InterOcio sometime in the future. And about Hasbro, as a lover of HeroQuest board game, I still have the great memories of the quite impressive stand that Hasbro built for the second edition of InterOcio back in 2023, with a lot of HeroQuest stuff and great offers. I took then some video recordings and pictures which I would like to revisit. It definitively was a great time for the hobby and for the fans community of HeroQuest, which I really wish to see back once more, if possible, or at least part of it. Of course, the HeroQuest franchise is not a such moment nowadays, unfortunately, but who knows, we will see next year, dreaming is free. Okay, hopefully you have enjoyed the video. If you have something to tell about this video, InterOcio, or any other events you like, please don't hesitate to comment below. And if you like this video and the content I make, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel to stay tuned and help it a bit to grow. Once again, thank you so much for listening and see you soon on my next video.